right, we're back at it on the SuccessFlow podcast, and we are gearing up for our annual summit that was the incubator and kind of catalyst for starting this podcast. So as we're gearing up for that, we were wrapping, and you've had a bigger foot in prepping for it this year than I, and we're going to have a nice post-op, if you will, with the current chair of the design team, but we'll talk a little bit about that. And in that same theme, as we prepare, we're talking about models of excellence and what we're trying to do in the world of defining success for yourself, being better in all areas of life. And for this episode, we're going to chat through a few, at least three, folks that we're listening to lately. What's top of mind? People that are creating waves in the world of personal development, business, and get to rocking on a few of those examples as we gear up for Summit. How are you doing today, Steve?
Yeah, that's good. I'm excited for Summit. By the time this podcast gets released, this episode gets released, Summit will be over. So this is kind of a pre-recording to that. But yeah, I've been working with the design team, getting things together, and I think we got a real good theme this year. I mean, the whole theme is all about connection, camaraderie, and kind of a lot of it business heavy, but we're going to dial in some time to, really spend some time together and develop a relationship with the guys in the room. So I'm excited for it. It's going to be great. So we'll do a whole recap on it, in a couple of weeks, but yeah. So lately, I don't know what, where you wanted to take this episode, but I think like just kind of talking about the people that are intriguing us lately and who we're listening to. And, one of the guys that I'm really listening to a lot right now is Alex Hormozi. Hormozi, we know all about. I don't know if the listeners know a ton about him, but just to give you some background, he's a guy, entrepreneur who owns acquisition.com, where he buys up businesses that are doing at least $1 million in EBITDA and, or EBITDA. Everyone has their own acronym.
Equity before interest, taxes.
EBITDA. Basically cash flow. It's a calculation for how you value businesses and the health of it through, the financial means. But anyway, anyone who's over $1 million is who he's looking to acquire. And along the way, he puts out all this free stuff. It's amazing the amount of content that he puts out in order to help build businesses. And his whole idea is like, hey, I'm going to give you this for free. So when you get to the point where it makes sense for us to partner, then I'll be there to do that. But he got his start from next to nothing. I mean, he was a gym bro, launching gyms. He had like 4 or 5 gyms himself. And then COVID hit and things went south and got into consulting. And then eventually the story is he started Gym Launch and started growing other gyms. As a consultant, realized he can make more money doing that, helping others succeed. And I think it's a really cool model. And he has a great story with him and his wife, Layla. And his books are awesome. Have you read $100 Million Leads and $100 Million Offers?
I have. And like you said, I think one of the biggest things is his ability to simplify and explain it so simply that the average person can take key business concepts and learn them and apply them. And starting from nothing, I not to split straws, but I think it's even cooler than starting from nothing because he technically started with means. His dad was a physician, and he had his foot in the door as a management consultant, think McKinsey, making 6 figures, and he was miserable. Like literally, he has mentioned he was pretty close to not wanting to live anymore. And he had a tough relationship with his father where he left his hometown and home state of Baltimore and didn't even tell his dad till he was in Ohio because he was that scared of him being talked out of it.
Yeah.
So that's still starting from nothing, right? He didn't have a ton, and he blew up his life at a very young age because he thought, I don't want to keep living somebody else's story. I'm going to define success for himself. And that's when he went down the business or the gym route, like you mentioned, met Layla, and they built that thing together and has some pretty good low stories that he overcame, got taken advantage by a partner. And the way he's recorded in public, you can get quite a business education without buying any of his books. Like just if you watch every video or even a third of the videos he's put out on YouTube, you can get a business education. I think that's the most impressive thing. And in that realm, he's built a ridiculous funnel of companies that he's able to turn away and just pick the best of the best for his what is private equity now.
Yeah, it's definitely admirable. But it's just, I think I love those stories, right? Like, yeah, he didn't come from, okay, so he had a little bit of an upbringing that he had means if he would have stayed the course. But again, like you said, we're defining success for ourselves. It's not about that. So if you have to pivot, you got to pivot. And in his book, I think it was $100 million Leads, when he explains the story of like literally had $0 and he was spending, I think he invested some money and it was spending like $3,000 a day in marketing, and he had to pay out his commissions to his salespeople by the end of the month. And so he had to somehow earn like $100,000 to do it. And the way he explains how he crafted his leads and his offers and closed the deals is pretty incredible. And I'm sure there was a lot more to it that he didn't share, but I mean, he's pretty open with a lot of his stuff. Like it doesn't seem too crazy to think that it wasn't actually achieved. And the way he builds his whole media business around YouTube and social media and all that stuff, like, say what you want about the guy, I think he's wildly successful for a reason. And he creates these like whole formulas, and like you can listen to the book on Spotify for free. Like, it's part of your Spotify thing. And I think he even read $100 million offers on his podcast. So you didn't have to have a Spotify account. You just go on YouTube and listen to his podcast, and he read the whole book. It's like an audiobook. But some really good stuff. And I've been listening to it, and, I just think it's neat to craft things in ways that other people are doing it, and they're finding success in it.
100%. And I know that we talk a lot about the negatives of hustle culture, but it's very different when you just start becoming real, like in the sense of repetitions only come through hard work. You are learning if you make 1,000 more cold calls as opposed to me that has only made 50. You have learned so much more than me. It's back to Kobe in the gym, his practice routine. He technically got 3 years out of practice out of 1. And that's why no one could catch him by the end. He was the best player in the league. Same thing goes for any area of business. It's just those repetitions that are going to make you good. And I think we brought this up on a podcast a little while back, but it's been on my mind a lot lately that you don't realize you're in the good old days until they're the good old days.
Right.
So it's like you're living in the good old days now. You're never going to have more energy. You're not going to be this youthful. Hopefully you're going to gain more wisdom and skills. But as of right now, you have energy and you are going to be young. You wouldn't trade places with Warren Buffett right now if you got his net worth. You're talking about years left to live. And that is a very interesting concept. That's for sure.
It's very interesting. Okay, so our guy Casey Strunk, friend of the pod, Junto member. Did you see his post recently on LinkedIn about longevity?
Oh, so that's what's wild. A future guest of the pod brought that up this morning, not knowing that I knew Casey this morning.
Yeah,
about epigenetics and how you can change your genome.
Yeah,
it was another synchronicity this morning. That's
wild.
Yeah.
How he talks about like people are racing to find out their genealogy because they had a grandparent that passed away too young, or a parent passed away too young, or whatever. And 6% of the longevity of life is based on genes. The other 94% is what you do with it.
Yeah,
like what you do, like the things you're eating, the activities you're doing. It's all in your control. And
epigenetics, baby.
Yeah, I thought that was super insightful and interesting. But one last thing on Hormozi before we pivot here, I just wanted to kind of give some like practical things that I picked up from the book. And if you're a small business owner and you're trying to generate leads or create offers, and the way he talks about these things just fresh in my mind. And he talks about creating what's called like a grand slam offer. And so basically, it's like in sales, right? You got to put it back on the person that you're trying to bring on to your service or product. And you're answering 4 questions. So that's what he says. In the Grand Slam offer, you're answering these 4 questions for your client. What is the dream outcome for them? What is the likelihood that it'll happen? How much effort and sacrifice will it take them to get it? And how long until it will be achieved in time delay? So you want to determine what their dream outcome is. Okay, you have a great service. I need streamlined approach. What is the likelihood that it'll happen? The chances that this is going to happen is pretty significantly high because I'm going to take care of it. How much effort and sacrifice? You're not going to have to do anything. I'm going to do all of it for you. And how long to achieve? It's only going to take me 2 days or whatever, right? You create an offer all around packaging how those questions are answered and they can't say no because that outcome is exactly what they want. They know how long it's going to take them, how much effort they're going to have to give, and what the likelihood is going to be. And if you answer that in the right way, that's how you generate leads for your business, by answering those 4 questions. And so I thought that was super insightful as any small business owner who's trying to make it selling a product or a service. And any corporation is doing the same thing. Just like when we're like, oh, I want to record a podcast, and you go on and Riverside says, okay, you've got a great platform to record, high quality. You can sign up in seconds, and there's a little effort. You press record and all of a sudden your video's ready for editing or whatever, right? Like, those are dream outcomes, and it tells us, so we sign up for Riverside. It makes it easy. So big companies can do it too. But I just thought that was an interesting take on how to craft. And then he comes up with the whole ideas around naming them and all sorts of things. And it can be gimmicky, but people like gimmicks. That's why jingles work so well in commercials. Like, people like those little quirky things.
It's hypnosis. It's right, hypnosis. We want things to be easy, memorable, and we want to make it feel like it was built for us. What's the current state? The current state, aka pain, future state, the positive outcome you're looking to achieve. My life's going to be better. Sales is building that bridge in between, that you're the person that can build them that bridge. Correct. And again, speed is, I think he says something like free versus fast. People will pay a lot of money for fast to solve that problem, that pain, as quickly as possible. So I love it. He's helped me so much, and glad we brought him up on the pod today. Switching gears, I've got one that is kind of the opposite, in the sense of isn't big on the self-promotion. And for someone that is in the 3 comma club and has, the billionaire status, I was not familiar with Hayes Barnard until a few weeks ago, and went down the rabbit hole. I'm a little biased because he's from St. Louis. Did not come from means, grew up in a single mom household and got out. He ventured west, but he went to Silicon Valley, wound up selling in software technology, and climbed to the ranks at Oracle due to that grind. He worked at a golf course in high school. I mean, there was all these parallels. This guy's, it's wild. Learned a ton from a lot of those salespeople that left to start their own thing, and he went to do the same. But he totally switched from software and then revamped the mortgage industry, maintained his ethics, and didn't get caught up in the subprime issue and the collapse of 08, 09. So he survives that, exits there, and then moves into solar, and really got slapped in the face by 2x4s in that industry when they said, oh, sustainable doesn't work. Solar's a waste of money. It's going nowhere. Winds up selling that to Elon Musk and just hits another home run. And his mindset they released then a video that he's out on Lake Tahoe doing the breath work, getting in the cold water. I'm like, this guy gets it. Anyway, Hayes Barnard, I do have to give credit. The reason I found him was another model of this podcast, My First Million. Shout out for bringing Hayes Barnard to the light. He's a really good guy to follow, even though he's not putting a ton of content out there, because he says that he's still insecure and doesn't like to read the negative feedback, and he hates to admit that, but I thought that authenticity was awesome as well.
I love that story. Just a real quick touch on the My First Million guys. Like, every episode it seems like it's a banger, and they always bring on great guests. Sam Parr, Sean Peary, kind of the catalyst to how we aligned our podcast here. But yeah, they've grown their pod quite a bit and had some really killer guests, and he was just on. And you sent it over to me because they do put out a lot of episodes, and I don't catch every single one. And but this is one that I listened to as well, and he's got a really cool backstory. I mean, coming from the Master Tax days, we know all about Oracle and Workday and SAP and some of these big players in that space. And Larry Ellison at one point was like, him and Bill Gates are going back and forth of the 2 richest men in the world. And Larry Ellison was the CEO of Oracle. And the sharing of his story, Hayes was there as like a young dude, like when we first started our Master Tax days, right? Like, he was like in his early 20s, and he was just like cold calling and sales, and he was making like, didn't he say he was making like $1 million by the time he was like 28 years old at Oracle?
Yeah, he was crushing it.
He was killing it.
And I thought it was so cool how they talked about, they use the term collaborative alphas, which I thought was hilarious. Might get dropped this week. But the fact that like Larry Ellison, after a lot of these these people left Oracle and started these companies like PeopleSoft, or he was one of the biggest investors in Salesforce, even though his talent left him to go start these.
Didn't Mark Bernioff come from Oracle too?
Oracle. He was a top salesperson at Oracle. Yeah. So they supported this, and then Ellison wound up buying back the products of these folks. So I just thought that was really cool in an industry that gets a reputation as cutthroat and whatnot. And it was, but they ran that company. Oracle's been built on performance-based metrics, getting your number and cutting the bottom 20%, promoting the top 20%. It was cool to see that collaboration and support as a team work.
100%. I thought that was really refreshing. I wasn't expecting that. I thought those guys would all like hated each other, but it was the exact opposite. They were like, let's build good business and provide great product. And they learned from the best at the time. And, software can be incestuous in a way where they all kind of keep buying each other up and starting new things and whatever. But you hear about that with Google, like all the ex-Google guys build their own stuff. The guy that, Morning Brew, that big newsletter that sold for like $70 million or whatever. Mm-hmm. One of their main original guys went off and built the newsletter platform Beehive that's now raising a ton of money. And competing with Substack and MailChimp and all these others. And like he's like a young guy, he's like 27 years old, and he's like raising tens of millions of dollars. And you learn from these guys, these big corporations, and you go off and start your own thing, and everyone's like super supportive of it, which is really neat. But yeah, going back to Hayes, I thought that was really cool how he's like, I've got a ton of money in the bank. And he was like, I didn't come from anything. And I remember Sean asked him, he's like, well, what'd you do with all this money? You're in your 20s. And he's like, nothing. It just sat in my savings account. I didn't know what to do with it. I thought it was fake. I didn't think it was real. Like it just wasn't. That's not who I am. Like I still lived in an apartment with a roommate. It wasn't like a thing. Like he wasn't like going out and spending all his money.
So wild.
But he comes from him growing up. Like he admits he was dyslexic. He was the kid that was getting made fun of, and like he just didn't want to be like out there like that.
Right.
I thought one of the cool stories when he was talking about the hot tub. Like how he was saying him and his buddy almost bought a hot tub company in Tahoe.
And the wives shut it down.
It reminded me so much of all the spaghetti I throw at the wall that Kim's like, I don't think that's going to be a good idea. Oh, so funny. That's a good episode, though. It's a long one. I haven't gotten through the whole thing.
It is.
An hour and 40 minutes, yeah.
It is, and well worth it. I think switch over from that. I just realized how SaaS heavy we are in this episode, and it's that could be kind of the theme. Besides Hormozy, which is more into the mid-sized creator businesses, consulting and online business offers. But I know another guy that's been hitting our feeds a lot is Dan Martell, and it's back to kind of the Hormozy model. He is putting so much value on how to think real time about with the approach of AI, how you're managing your time, and buying back your time is the book that he wrote. I think you picked it up as well. I know a couple Agento members are, but this concept of delegation and making the one thing the main thing, single tasking, true focus, which is ironic coming from a guy that's doing a lot between the executive coaching, multiple SaaS businesses. And I think the only way you're able to do that once you get to a certain level of scale, which you know about, is you have to buy back your time and empower others. And the stuff that he's been putting out has been pretty darn impressive from a free content in the business world and life in general.
Yeah, and he was a guy that was, I think he admits in his show like before and after pictures, like he's super fit and healthy now, and he was not that way growing up. He was health was not a thing, and he was a bigger guy.
He was addicted and went to jail.
Yeah,
and has a recovery story. You're bang on, and then it was even a time after that he really got fit. You're spot on there. It's a real metaphor for people that are in midlife.
It always reminds me of Ed Milet. First time I saw him speak, saying, "Whatever you've gone through, you are the most qualified to help others going through the same thing." Like he's like, you don't need to be. What am I? Like, if I'm an addict or recovering addict, how could I help others? Like, you are the most qualified versus someone who's never gone through that to help somebody. So in Martell's case, he's gone through those situations, helping those who may have gone through those situations. I don't know too much about him. I do follow him a little bit, and I know some other people are, subscribed to his coaching program and all that. But from everything I see and read, he's pretty solid.
Yeah,
and he's not just business, right? Like he's like more leadership and. He hits more about like not growth in the business. I mean, he touches on that, but it's like growth in yourself and leadership. And it's like asking the question, if you're going to try and hire, level 10 type of employees, or, where are you? Can you assess yourself? If you're a 6, you can't lead 10s. It's not going to work. So you got to ask yourself what level you need to get to bring on great people and other leaders within your organization.
Absolutely. And talking about who he spends his time with, like he gets workouts with his friends, like the things that he likes to do, or rock climb or bike or whatever it is, that's the stuff they do when they connect. And he just told a story about a friend that called him out and said, kind of, you're playing small. Like you're talking, the way that you're speaking and buying back your time and what you have capable right now, like the person that you've become should be in that 3 comma club. And not that, again, the $1 billion level, I hear a lot of people say that they want to get to it. And it's like, why? And he broke down that he actually got upset at this friend because he was asking him about something totally different. And his close friend came back with him like, you should be in that club if you really want to pay a certain amount forward. He thought about it, and it took him about 15 minutes, a half hour. And then he was like, he's right. And he totally kind of wiped his business plan. And I think, his exit strategy and a couple things just from that conversation, for him to share that authentically, I thought was pretty cool. And it's just kind of stuff you want to see on social media, this authentic presence and paying it forward without any ask. And it all comes back. They're picking up clients because of this authentic creating and giving.
Yeah. All right. Who else are you following out there? Who else is intriguing you right now?
Oh, I'm always kind of going down the road of the esoteric and the sacred texts. And I found an old, I don't know if he was CIA, but he was definitely within the intelligence community and working with the CIA, who's big on some of the remote viewing, behavioral analysis, but has really won me over in how he feels about reading the sacred texts and the common messages that live in the Tao Te Ching, the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, these common messages that get threaded in. And they say the same thing. And a key takeaway is the most phrase used in the Bible in all of these sacred texts, not just the Bible, but it's mentioned 365 times in the Bible, is do not fear or be not afraid. And I had heard that before, but to hear the CIA intelligence individual, who he's also into hypnosis and power of the mind, Chase Hughes is his name, and he has a book called The Ellipsis Manual that's a dense read, but blowing my mind.
Dude,
how about you?
Have any correlation, the 365 things, have any correlation with the number of days in the year?
I have no idea, but it's pretty almost convenient.
It is, isn't it? I have no idea either. But that would be like, don't every single day.
Do not fear.
Fear not, right? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some, it's funny, like, talking about technology advances and SaaS and software and building business and all this stuff, and like the world we live in, like it does sometimes seem like Weirdoville, like not conspiracy theory, like not like that, but just very how things are intertwined. And the more awareness that you have and more clarity you get, you're like, man, I was just talking about that with someone, and now we're like talking about this. It just aligns so much. Like, it doesn't seem like things are happening just because of happenstance. Like, it seems like things are happening, the things you're finding out about right now and the things you're learning about right now, there's a reason for that, and what your next 6 months are going to look like, or your next year is going to look like, or your next 10 years. Yeah. And it's all like, if you're aware of it and you're putting forth the action to like, and it's partly going back to Hormozi's stuff. Like, yeah, he gives you all this content and all this stuff that you can model. Like, literally, you can write down a study guide off of his books. It's essentially what it is. Like, you can read it multiple times and give you the steps to do it. But if you're not doing it, you'll never get anywhere. Like, you can't you know what I mean? Like, it's like going to a conference and it's like, oh, I'm all excited and motivated. And 2 days later, you've done nothing that you just learned. And then that's it. You're back to comfort zone and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It is a little bit of a weirdo town. I think it's more like... the more aware you are and the tools that are just at our fingertips to be able to create and discover and learn from, it's a pretty wild time. And as my kids grow older, it's like going to be like, I have no idea what their adulthood's going to be like. Like, it's going to be insanely different than what it is, just 3 years ago. I mean, look how fast once ChatGPT came about two years ago, now it's like, I mean, people who aren't using it are already way behind. Now it's not like you can't catch up.
It's happening so fast. And I have a feeling, we talk about the direction of this podcast, that's kind of a way it's going to have to go, is we have to continue to learn and evolve and adapt in the second half of our careers, or however you want to chop it up. is where we're going to have to bring value, because there's going to be a lot of people figuring it out. And if not, you're kind of susceptible to the ones that do. So it is wild. And I feel like the more I know, the more I read without the doing and action part, the less I know. Like, you just get overwhelmed with information, and then keep going down the rabbit hole, and the world just gets bigger and bigger until you focus on what you want to actually do. And then the actions make you, those are the steps toward mastery.
Well, and that's why you actually learn. It's like the field work. You know, you get your HVAC tech who's in the field learning more than the guy sitting at a desk reading manuals and studying from that, right? Like, your field experience is going to far outweigh, the certification, the study. So let me give you a quick example. So Victoria, my daughter, she wanted to see where she stood in terms of softball in her age group. She's 10. She's about to turn 11. She tried out for what will be like being developed as the top 10U state or team for softball girls in the state of Arizona. The coach is like ex-D1 ASU standout. Like, they could have renamed the stadium after her. And she builds these like super teams, and they like grow to like be college players. Now, remember, she's 10. So she was like, I do want to go try out for this team. She'd done a couple workouts. She went and tried out for the team, and she saw where she stood, like where she stacked up. She was good, but there was other players they were pretty freaking phenomenal, right? Like, they were as a 10-year-old. Long story short, she has this other team that she played on last year, and she developed, and they were building a club team. And so she tried out, or she actually skipped that tryout because she was doing this one. Well, that coach called and was like, hey, where was Victoria? Like, I think she's great. She's a natural born catcher. Like, she's got some really foundational skills that girls don't have that we could really develop. We got a D1 ex-college catcher that can help her. She's going to be my assistant coach, all this stuff, yada, yada. And we're like, hey, we're trying out for this other team. Full transparency. We'll let you know in a couple of days. Long story short, Victoria made that elite team, but we turned it down. We went with the other team. And the reason why is because she's 10, about to turn 11. She had the skills to make that team, but she didn't quite have the skills to be a starter on that team. And we knew the writing was on the wall, to where she was going to be the third string catcher. And even the coach, when I let that coach know and let her say, hey, this is where we want her to develop. She just started catching 6 months ago. We want her to develop into a powerhouse. We want her to fall in love with the game. Like, we know she likes playing, but we want her to be in love with it. And we just feel at this point, if she was at that competitive level, not getting as much playing time, and going against girls that may be overwhelming, that it could ruin her entire softball career experience. And she might, in a year from now, be like, I don't want to play anymore. And so we're going to do another year working out with her, getting her ready, getting her those field reps, in-game reps. That way she can develop. If she was riding the bench, not getting in-game reps, she wouldn't develop into the softball player that she's about to be. And so we wanted to give her that opportunity. So it just goes back to, you got to put in the work and get in the experience and get the field work and get in the game in order to learn and grow. You can't be sitting on the sidelines. Even if you're on the best team, you're not going to be able to develop if you don't get that time. So in my opinion, I think we made the right decision.
Absolutely.
And I think Victoria is excited about it, and she's going to have some fun this year and get some club experience and do some tournaments. Now, we're never going to have a social life. We're going to be on the baseball field or softball field. Kimberly and I are going to be split up completely. But anyway, it's just a cool real life story of like, hey, make the decision for you and put yourself in the spot to get the most amount of time in the action that you're trying to develop into, as opposed to going for the biggest, best possible thing right off the bat. I think there's merit to it, but I also think like you need to put yourself in the game one way or the other and find the one that's going to give you the most at-bats and the most opportunities.
Most reps, absolutely. Well, I think that's a perfect practical real-life story and metaphor to wrap up this pod. We'll be back at you next week. Got some great guests in the hopper that are coming up soon, and we appreciate you. Like, subscribe, and we'll talk soon.
Yep.